Yo, what is going on, guys? I'm AT and today we are here with my first ever real deck profile on this channel. We are going through my RP lore, which I took to nationals over the weekend. It did me extremely well. I even managed to get myself on stream during the undefeated top tables in the first 4 rounds. Honestly, this is like my favorite leader in this game. I have so much fun with him and there's a lot of potential for this leader, especially in the leading up sets 6 and also the EB. He gets even better boost and buff in power. This is an extremely fun but also I believe a high skill ceiling leader to use. Matchups I feel are also very decent into pretty much all the meta leaders. Your hardest matchup obviously is gonna be ENEL, but if you can figure it out, you'll be pretty good. So we're gonna go through what this leader does. I'll put the deck list right here for you now. If you're gonna leave off now, just hit a like, subscribe, enjoy, and if you wanna hear my reasonings for the cards in the deck, how I use combos, certain matchups, stuff like that, we're gonna go through that now. So first things first, we got the leader, red, purple, for life. We have activate main once per turn, Don -3. You can place up to one of your opponent's character with 3000 power or less to the bottom of the owner's deck. And after that, you can play a 1/4 cost character or less from your hand, which is really good. Shambles, I gotta love it, the way to keep it in theme. And for those that don't know as well, the leader effect, you do not have to use both of them. You can do one, you can do either just Don -3, not bottom anything, bring out a character, or you can do both, or you can even just Don -3, bottom a character and not bring anything out as well. So everything is basically optional. So let's jump into the list and we'll talk about the core main things that you should probably have in every RP lore deck, and we'll go from there. Alright, so the first card we are running inside this deck list is the Rush ZORO. This guy is self-explanatory. He is a 3 cost 5k rush. He is really good for early game pressure. Actually, honestly, any time in the game where you have a ZORO, it is really good. And he also has a really nice synergy with the leader, especially when you go wide with your board, you're attacking with everything, they think it's all over, you shambles and you bring out a Rush ZORO to go for game. It is absolutely awesome. So we are running 4 copies of Rush ZORO inside this deck. Not much else needs to be said about this guy. It is a must-have inside the deck. Next character we are talking about is another ZORO. We got ZOROJUUROU, one of the ramp cards inside this deck. If you have 3 or less life, add 1 Don active, which is really good. This guy is a really awesome card for going first along with the Rush ZORO. So we also run 4 copies of him as well. So the reasoning behind having ZOROJUUROU, obviously the ramp is great, but he is also very good bait. Especially when you're going against Sakazuki, and obviously they like going second. They're going to make you go first. You play a ZOROJUUROU, their turn 2, they're going to brand you, and then they're going to try to Hound Blaze this guy. And if they do that, it's perfect for you because you're wasting one of their resources for bottom decking and buffing. If not, they can also just swing with leader and then play a Lucci, which is even better for you because they're using Lucci to get rid of just one character. I've actually even had a Sakazuki, which was in the 4th round, not attack me and try to starve to make sure I would not get the ramp effect off. But with all the cards that I have in my deck, that did not go well for him. So there you go, we have 4 copies of ZOROJUUROU, another must-have in this deck. He's also a 1k counter too, so if you can't get him out, he is great. Sometimes you can just sneak him out if you have a nice wide board during the game, and you get even more Don throughout the match. So 4 copies, ZOROJUUROU. Next up, we have EUSTASS, Captain, Kid. One of the best blockers for purple, honestly. It used to be Queen, but now I think it is EUSTASS, Captain, Kid. So with Kid, as you can see, he is a blocker once per turn as well. When you minus Don, you get 1 Don back active. So if you have multiple of this guy on board, you are basically winning the game, even if it's just 1 or 2. So like, he helps so much when you're minusing stuff and getting it back active, having Don to use. Even if you're versing stuff like red ZORO, it's great to have the 1 Don back. You can stick it under and swing out life with something else to prevent this guy from getting KO'd with a jet pistol trigger. Otherwise, 1 Don up can also bait people into thinking you have a rad beam or guard point or something like that. So we are also running 4 copies of EUSTASS, Captain Kid. Great blocker, one of the best cards, always want to see him. One of the best plays with this guy as well is with our next character. It is SACHI and Penguin. Okay, so this guy is a 2k counter, 4 cost 5k beater. If you have 3 or less Don, you get 2 Don back rested. So one of the combos you'd love to have is you have Kid on board, you play Kid for 5, you use your lead effect, you bottom deck something like a brand new, for example, and you play this guy out. So you get from 5, you go down to 2, you add 2 back because of SACHI's effect, and then you also get 1 back from Kid, which basically puts you at break even. You didn't lose a single Don, and you got out 2 bodies. So this guy is also super clutch. You gotta run 4 SACHI Penguins in this deck as well. These are the staples we are going through. Next card we have is BEPO. This guy is also another nice one. Honestly, I feel I don't use him as much as the other card that I will show later on. But this guy is also a on play. You get 1 Don if you have less Don than your opponent. And when attacking, you also get another Don. They come in rested, but it is a good way to ramp up to make sure you don't lose too much Don throughout the game. Once again, 1k counter, 4 cost, 5k body, and we are also running 4 copies of BEPO. Next up, one of our main Don like power negate cards in this deck. It's Gordon. For 1 cost, you can minus 3000 power to an opponent's character, which is awesome by bottom decking him, and obviously we do run 4 of him as well. Self-explanatory, one of like the best negging powers for 1 cost in this deck. Another 1 cost minusing power we have is OTAMA. Minuses 2k power, but it's also a 2k counter. Another great card in this deck that you will definitely need 4 of. Pretty self-explanatory, one of the best red cards there is, honestly. MVP. We have OTAMA. This is great for all the 5k bodies. It is super clutch in yellow as well. There was a game where I versed a KATAKURI. I knew they looked at their top life at the start of the game and put it at the bottom, so it was either going to be a body or a thunderbolt. And when I went for game, I had enough Don. I kept 1 aside for OTAMA. I attacked their leader. They triggered a SANJI, instantly played OTAMA, bottom decked the SANJI, and went for game. So really good card. Must have a 4 of her as well inside this deck. So OTAMA. Next, we have 4 FIREFIST. I feel you have to have 4 FIREFIST in this deck. So FIREFIST is basically a 2 cost, one of my main techs for Sakazuki. So when you have 2 or less life, obviously the activate main is minus 4000 power, which can be used at any time. One of the greatest things is for their big bodies for people. I tend to have a board where they want to swing at it, and usually if they have big bodies, I don't care about removing it instantly because it just kills my Don. So when they swing at my board, the next turn I will minus that character 4000 power. So it could be an 8k or a 9k, and they go down to 4 or a 5, and I just swing at them, burn some cards from their hand. If not, they let it go. This is really good against the Rush ENEL as well, and obviously the main tech is for Sakazuki because the second skill on this is if you have 2 or less life, KO one of your opponent's character with a power of 0 or less. So this is what you want to use for the Rebeccas. There's been times it's saved me so much. They play Rebecca, they bring out something, you minus 4 on arrested, or even on the Lucci, you bottom deck it and you automatically KO the Rebecca as well. So you get a lot of value out of having a FIREFIST in this deck. So as that is the reasoning for me running 4 of them, must have. Next card up is Queen, the second best blocker in purple. As you can see, it is a 5 cost 6k body. It is also a 1k counter blocker. Don -1, it helps you filter your hand. That is the biggest thing. Sometimes you just need that 1 Gordon, or you just need to get rid of a brick in hand. You play Queen and, you know, filter out your hand, and you also get a nice big blocker out there. Once again, this is something we run 4 copies of. I believe you must have 4 because you're also going to be versing a lot of yellows. Your favorite matchup with red purple law is KATAKURI. So KATAKURI cannot deal with big blockers. So I've won plenty of games where all I do is just play blockers against yellow, and it's pretty much over for them. So you have basically 4 queens, 4 kids, and they hate it. So that is something you need to have in this deck. I think queen is very valuable to keep in this deck. Now we're going on to another set of blockers. We got the Trafalgar Law. Once again, we are running 4 copies of Law. This guy is very situational, but is super good into yellow as well, especially NL. They will always take 5k hits to life. They're always going to be having a nice huge hand size. Or if you randomly run into a Whitebeard, like you just play this guy down, rip 2 cards from their hand, and you have a lot of tempo just from that. He is also another blocker. Obviously, it's one of the weaker ones because it's a 4 cost, easier for Sakazuki to remove. easier for you to get Amaru'd with, which is why I have a bunch of 5-cost blockers. So this guy is very situational, but he is just more or less an extra blocker, and if you can get off the effect, even if you don't, people play around having less than 7 cards just because you are purple. So just the threat and knowing that he is there will make them play differently. So he is absolutely awesome to have 4 of. This is something you can probably work around having less, maybe. I did originally run 2 and 3 as well, but I think 4 is great, especially because it's a 1k counter. So regardless, having 12 blockers in this deck keeps you alive, healthy and good. Now, some of the tech choices which I have in this deck. My favorite card in this deck, Iron. We run 4 copies of Iron. Now, why do I do this? Some people honestly don't like it, but my game plan is with the next card I'm going to show you. Iron is one of those ramps which is better than BEPO in the regards that there is no condition to using her Dawn, right? So even if sometimes I've had people saying to me, oh look, I have 2 Irons in hand, that's just a brick. No, what you do is you play Iron, you ramp one, you leader effect, you bring out another Iron, you get another one back. So you got 2 bodies out, and you know, it's a non-counter, so it doesn't really matter, right? And you keep the BEPO in hand for when you can use it, because he is situational. Whereas Iron is always live. So I love this card. And the biggest combo that I do with Iron is one of the reasons why I like going second with this deck. It is because we run 3 aces. We got Ace. So the biggest thing with Ace is a lot of people that play RP Law say, you can't use Ace. I want Ace every single game. I will always have 7 Dawn. If you do not have 7 Dawn, a lot of the times I feel that you are playing Law wrong. A lot of the games I have, I'm always at 7 to 9 Dawn because I have so much ramp effects. So one of the biggest combos you have is if you are going second, you play Iron. And then, so turn 2, you play Iron, you ramp up, you're at 5. If you have nothing else to play, you can easily just swing with leader, pass, and then next turn you bring out an Ace. Because you'll be at 7 Dawn, you play out an Ace, you minus 3k to 2 things. Definitely they would have attacked with something on board. You swing at that one, you bottom deck with your leader effect, and you bring out another body. So it's a win-win. That is my favorite combo inside this deck, Iron plus Ace. If you can try, you want to go more complicated if you don't have the Ace yet. Turn 2, you play Iron, you ramp up to 5 Dawn, your leader effect, you bottom deck something, like say if you're versing a Sakazuki or anything that has like a low 3k power body, you bottom deck it, you bring out a SACHI Penguin. So from 5 Dawn, you minus 3, puts you at 2, you play SACHI, you get another 2, so you're back at the original 4 before you played Iron. So basically you got 2 bodies out that turn, which is great, right? So if you're going to be at 4 Dawn, the turn after, you are going to be at 6 Dawn, right? So on your 6 Dawn turn, what you do is you play out the Kid. So from that turn, you have Iron and SACHI, then you go out Kid with a Gordon. You bottom deck something, you bring out another body, could be another Iron, could be a BEPO, could be a ZORO, anything you want, and you get a Dawn back from Kid and you keep your tempo. Preferably you bring out something that does give you Dawn. So if you play turn 2 Iron into SACHI, turn 3 Kid into Gordon, into say another Iron or even a BEPO, right? So you go 6 Dawn, minus 3, get 1 back, so you'll be at 4 Dawn, plus another 1 from one of the rampers. Then the turn after you can bring out Ace. So you can always get Ace out, especially if you have him in hand. A lot of, like I said, this guy is so clutch. 3 copies I feel is what you do need with him. So this is really good combo that you can get out. Yeah, other than that, we're going on to our last card as well, which is just gonna be the 2k counter Sanji. So why do I pick Sanji? We only have 3 copies, so overall we have 11 2k counters in this deck. Sanji, 90% of the time is just a 2k counter. The only times I play him is if you're gonna be going up against an NL. You play him first, this will bait them into attacking you because they know you can take your own life and they can no longer starve you. And if you get yourself down to 3 life, every single card in your deck that is a 4 cost survives from Gadatsu. Another time that I may play it is also against Zoros because I can swing into buggies or anything else like that. So overall, 90% of the time, just a 2k counter. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the matchups that you're going to run into, type of the mulligan hands you want. So ideally, these are the cards you always want to see when you mulligan. It is like a general good hand to have. So these are my matchups for the day. Obviously, as you can see, I beat like 3 Sakazukis. The 4th one that I lost to was actually the 2nd place nationals winner, which is my friend, teammate Minky as well. We call him just Zach. There you go. This is ideally your starting hands that you would like to have any of these cards and you're good. When you're versing Sakazuki, you want to go second because you ruin their curve. So what would happen usually is turn 1, they will just have 1 Don, leader effect, and pass, right? So you're on your 2 Don turn, you'll pass as well. Great. Next turn, they're at 3 Don. They'll most likely play brand new or a Hina. Okay, so those are the only things they can really do. They're going to attack you, you counter out if you can, if not just take a life. I usually don't mind taking the first 2 life at all, but also depends on the hand. If it's nothing I can play, I'll counter. But they're going to play a brand new, obviously pass, right? So you get to your 4 Don turn. So what you're going to do with 4 Don is you play yourself Iron. You get 1 Don rested with Iron, so you're going to be at 5 Don. Right, you minus another 3 Don to bottom deck the brand new, and you bring out a SACHI Penguin. With that, you get another 2 Don back. So you're going to be sitting at 4 Don. So what does that mean? You started at 4 Don and you end the turn at 4 Don. So you basically got out a Penguin for free. Now, next turn, Sakazuki has to deal with 2 4-cost bodies, which is super hard for them. Unless they have, you know, a Great Eruption, they can -2, swing it with leader, this goes to 3, right? So that is not enough for them to Lucci. They can try to Lucci and they'll get rid of 1, or they're gonna just -1 and Helmblaze, and you still have 1 body left there, which is more pressure for you next turn. Because as the other combo I mentioned, once that happens, you're gonna be at 6 Don next turn. Against Sakazuki, you're gonna play out your kid, and if they did bring out a Lucci or anything, Borsellino, whatever they have, you play a Gordon. So that is your 6 Dons used. You -3 with leader effect. And then you bring out, ideally, a BEPO or another Iron. So when you do that, you're at 3 Don. You bring out one of these. You got a Don rested. Kid effect activates. You get another Don active. So overall, you end the turn with 5 Don. What happens? My main combo, which I told you. Right? The turn after, if they clear anything on your board, once again, regardless what they play, you're at 7 Don the next turn. You play Ace. You get Ace, you -3k to a Lucci, you can -3k to a Borsellino, a Hina that was rested if they did any combos. You swing at stuff, you minus, and you bring out another body. It could be another Zoro, it could even be another Iron, or even another BEPO if you want to, and you feel like you can, you bring another SACHI, and your board is looking really nice. From there, you just pressure them non-stop. If the next turn they bring out a 7-cost Borsellino, that's another turn wasted for them, because you have so much to swing at them, they're going to be scared. They can bring out another Lucci, which clears like 2 things, and you still have 2 or 3 things on board. So that is the game plan against Sakazuki going second, and generally it feels really good. Now, what all the 3 Sakazukis did to me was make me go first. So when you're going first, what do you want to do against Sakazuki? You want to make sure you have a ZOROJUUROU, which is great bait, or you have a Rush Zoro to pressure them early. These are the 2 best things you can potentially ask for. If you do end up with this and this, it's still okay. You might even want a mulligan to have one of these if you're going first, because you can go with leader. Turn 2, you'd be at 3 Don. You go 8 into their leader, right? You go 8 into leader. They draw a card, obviously. The turn after, they're going to play, do their combos, stuff like that. You go to 5, you play one of these, you rip 2 cards from their hand. It's guaranteed because they took an 8k hit from you the turn before. They're going to have 7 cards in hand. From there, you can do your normal stuff. So if you played that, right, you can swing with leader for 6. You just debate 1 card from their hand, even they'll still be at 7. If not, you just straight up play this and then swing with leader after. Use your leader effect, -3, bring out a SACHI, get 2 back, you'll still be at 4 Don. Next turn you're at 6. You can go with the Kid and Gordon combo. So overall, you still get 2 bodies on board, which is great. So that is usually the game plan going first. Best is to have a ZOROJUUROU going turn 1. This is just really good bait, because they're going to try to get rid of it, and if they don't and they let it stick for even just one turn, you're ramping up extra, makes it quicker and easier for you to get into ace, which is, I feel, the best win con against Sakazuki, because it's hard for him to deal with a 7 cost body that early into the game without an Ice Age. Otherwise, he's using a lot of resources just to get rid of one while you have other things on board, because every time ace comes out, another body is coming out with him because you're going to leader effect. So that is how I usually deal with Sakazuki, and we'll move on to another common matchup. Alrighty, so our next matchup, obviously, it's going to be going against Katakuri, which is another big threat apparently to people. So Katakuri is my favorite matchup overall. You want to do, as usual, same as every other game, your mulligan hands are one of these. You got to have at least a couple of these in hand and you're pretty sweet. The best thing you can do against Kata, honestly, even if you mulligan and your hand is just kid, queen, queen, like, you are chilling. If you have even 2 of these in hand against a Katakuri, you are chilling. All you're doing is playing the slow game, grinding them out. They have nothing they can do against this, honestly. Like, I've won so many games just playing blockers. Against Katakuri, obviously, you choose second, and it is the exact same game plan. You go Ein into ace, or you go Ein into Sachi, into next turn Kid, Gordon, then following turn ace, obviously with a body when it comes with Kid and Gordon, and then another ace. You're chilling. The game is just like that. You get your body out and all you do is swing 5s. You swing 5s, anything that comes out that's a trigger, you deal with it and you end your turn. You bring up as much blockers, you try to establish as many blockers against yellow, and they're going to cry for the rest of the game. You can do early game pressure with any of these two. If you see a Katakuri doesn't attack you, you know they have a Gedatsu. What you do is you just swing at lead, play out blockers. That is all you got to do, because once you have a 5 cost blocker, Gedatsu doesn't do anything. And they're going to force themselves to attack you. It's rare that you see a Katakuri starve you, but just sometimes if they do have the Gedatsu, that's what you do. Or you can bait it with one of these, which is fine, because regardless, this guy gets value straight away. This guy, not really, but you waste the Gedatsu, and then you clear the Gedatsu the turn after. When it comes to their big bodies, what I normally like to do is I go wide and I have blockers there. When they play something like an 8 cost Katakuri, I don't even get rid of it. So one of the reasons why I do not run the Gamma Knife is because I feel I waste a lot of Don. You don't have to immediately deal with their big bodies with Gamma Knife, because this takes up too much of your resources. I used to love this card at the beginning, but I found out that it is not really the best way to just answer with bodies immediately when they're played. It's better when they attack you, you minus that body and you swing into it. It saves you resources, it burns their resources, and if they let it go, they let it go, right? So it's better for you, and you always continuously fill your board after that. Doing this, you end up losing 4 Don if you don't have a kid on board, so it kind of hurts. So that is why I opt for just using Gordon and FIREFIST in general. So that honestly is the most straightforward plan against Katakuri. Yellow in general, same thing with Enel. You just want big blockers. All you do is swing 5s while building up a board with like the standard Ein, Sachis, BEPOs, Kids. Get whatever out you can and just go 5, 5, 5. Any trigger that comes out, deal with it, pass. And sometimes when you're versing an Enel as well, like say you might have 3 things on board, just swing with 1 and swing with your leader and leave these active, because they will go for 1, and that way you don't completely just lose your board. And you slowly build up more until you can go like 2 in 1 turn, and when they're at 1 life, you just go with everything that you have on board and you're pretty much chilling as well. Enel is definitely the hardest matchup out of the entire meta list, so do what you can, just make sure, get them to 2 life and don't get them to 1. Do your best. If you can, take as much life as possible. I even verse Enel playing at 1, 0 or 2 life at all times, and it works out well for you. Less chances for Yamato to kill something, no value there, and less chances for anything else. And you always want the 5 cost blockers, just because Amaru easily gets rid of your 4 cost law. But you know, if you have 2 of these out and you bring out an extra law, you're chilling as well. So There you go. We're going to jump into another matchup, which is PLUFFY. So my only loss was to the 7th place in the entire nationals, PLUFFY, my mate Henry. We didn't really have the best hand. We got on stream. We had some fun though. It was good to kill the nerves, knowing each other. This guy is what you want to mulligan for against Luffy. No matter what, you want a Gordon, because if you play this guy turn 1, he is staying there until a Paulie is coming out, which is at least 3 turns. So any vanilla or anything else they play, it is gone. They are scared. You need this guy. This is like your win con against Luffy. Luffy. If you can go first against Luffy and you have a Gordon in hand, your win rate goes up to like 60-70%. That's pretty much all it is. If you can also get a rush Zoro as well, early game pressure as well. So you play Gordon, so you're going first, so you play Gordon turn 1, turn 2 you play Zoro, you swing at their leader, and obviously if you have a 2k, you're gonna save him regardless, right? So you do that, get some early game pressure, and then from there you do the standard plan, build the board, irons into like another body, or you play out a blocker. You gotta just play around the Paulie, make sure you don't bring out all your blockers before the 9 cost Kaido comes, and if you can, you know, get this guy out early and he sticks, you're great. Or if they deal with it with a Paulie, you know, sometimes I have these 2 there and they just gotta pick one, right? So it's okay, and you want one of these in hand as well with Gordon for when Kaido drops, because immediately when Kaido drops on your turn, if you can just neg the Kaido down to like 6k and swing into it, or even like 6k swing Gordon bottom deck, there's not much they can do if you instantly remove their Kaido and they're down 5 Dom. So Luffy is a pretty decent matchup as well. It is still 50-50. Like I said, Law is basically every matchup is 50-50 except for Katakuri, where I feel you have a 70% win rate. And NL, you know, it can fluctuate. It depends how many Yamatos you got to deal with. I ended up dealing with like 4 Yamatos sometimes and still winning. But it's super hard. Like if they get 3 or 4, most people are gonna lose. But if they get 2 or 3, you can still potentially take the game from them. So I hope you guys enjoyed the overall deck list and my explanations. This is the first time I'm doing one, so hopefully that was some good insight for you guys, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.